Hello and welcome to a new edition of Business Insider. I'm Mohammed Abdulrahim. By the year 2030, artificial intelligence is forecast to add 15 trillion US dollars to the global economy. AI, artificial intelligence, is one of the top priorities of policy agendas for most of the countries at both national and international levels. Many national government initiatives focus on using AI applications for development and economic growth. Of course, many UN-affiliated organizations have initiatives tackling AI, and in the leading industrial countries in the world, the G7, the G20. And here in Egypt, we have launched the National Artificial Intelligence Agency AI strategy to exploit such technology to attain the country's sustainable development goals, play a key role in facilitating regional cooperation within the African and Arab regions, and establish Egypt as an active international player in artificial intelligence. This within the framework of Egypt's keenness to embrace the digital era as advancements in technology continue to evolve every day. Tonight, we are honored to have with us here in the studio Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, Professor of Computer Science and Information Systems, specializing in artificial intelligence. And also, Dr. Nevine is the director of the Social and Cultural Planning Center, affiliated to the National Institute of Planning here in Egypt. Thank you very much, Dr. Nevine, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Dr. Nevine, dear viewers, let's watch this report about the role of artificial intelligence in sustainable development and in economic growth, especially here in Egypt, and then come back to start our discussion. Please don't go away.
Egypt has prepared its national strategy for artificial intelligence to serve its development goals. This strategy has been planned under the slogan Artificial Intelligence for Development and Prosperity, and aims to utilize this technology to achieve Egypt's development goals and drive economic growth. These efforts have contributed to advancing Egypt's ranking of 55 on the government's Readiness Index in 2020. The next 3 years are expected to witness an increase in reliance on all applications and solutions in government sectors. This reliance comes in light of the projects being implemented to achieve digital transformation and implement the government's transition plan to the new administrative capital. As part of this purpose, the Egyptian government is aiming to shift its work to paperless, particularly digital method. It is an important component in building up the country Egypt to ensure its transformation into a digital society. This would take place through the digitization of work systems in institutions to improve the efficiency of services and to ensure they are provided in a more transparent manner. It would also enable community members to handle technology efficiently. In addition, Egypt will be a producer and exporter of technology, which can contribute to achieving economic growth through innovation and technological progress. The communications and information technology sector is the highest growth sector in the country for the second year in a row. This sector's growth rate is expected to reach 16% during the current fiscal year, whilst its employment rates have grown by 20% over the past 3 years. The CIT sector's contribution to Egypt's GDP has also jumped by about 40% since 2018. Investment in capacity building programs has doubled 8 times during the past 3 years. This has been driven by a plan that is being implemented to train more than 115,000 people in 2021 at various levels of technological programs at a cost of £400 million. The Egyptian government is keen to establish partnerships between the public and private sectors to spread emerging technologies and utilize all technology in the development sector. Egypt is building 15 smart cities as part of an ambitious plan to build 30 new cities. These cities are expected to accommodate more than 14 million people and provide more than 6 million new job opportunities. The private sector is a key partner in building and operating these smart cities based on modern technologies.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us. We are here in the company of Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, Professor of Computer Science and Information Systems, specializing in AI, and she is also the Director of the Social and Cultural Center for Planning, affiliated to the National Institute of Planning here in Egypt. Dr. Nevine, I'm sure when the viewers hear about artificial intelligence or AI, the first question that comes to their mind, many of them, I'm sure others do know the definition of AI, but they want to know, what is AI? Can you put it to us in the simplest form, if you will?
Okay, in its simplest form, we can say that artificial intelligence aims at developing systems that are intelligent. What do we mean by intelligence here? We mean that systems that can mimic humans' behavior and that can perform any task that can be performed by a human. So we're talking here about all of the tasks. We're even talking about innovation. We're talking about behavioral analysis. All of the tasks that we can do, these machines are able to do nowadays.
So supposedly these machines would try to mimic a human mind, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They already did.
Okay.
They actually have a language of their own that we do not understand. And that's kind of a high risk for us, because they'll be able to communicate and we will not be able to know what they're exchanging, their ideas, their plans.
The risks, I will get to that because there must be advantages and disadvantages for everything, including AI. Before we proceed to later conclude by talking about the role of AI here in Egypt in sustainable development and in economic growth and its role globally as well, Dr. Nevine, what are the major goals of artificial intelligence in general?
Supposedly, it is meant to be a way to make our life much easier and more productive. But as you just mentioned, there are some pros and cons, and there are some challenges as well. So we were trying to help and to support, for example, the decision making. We were trying to help humans by performing the repetitive tasks and leaving the innovation to human beings. That was the main goal. But what happened was not that scenario. We had different scenarios because we had to face some disadvantages. Like, for example, that artificial intelligence has already created many jobs, but on the other hand,
it has taken away many jobs as well.
Jobs.
Yeah.
So people are suffering, but not all people, some of the people who are not ready to get trained, who are not ready to be computer literate, who are not ready to change their mindset.
And that's the elder generation in general? In general?
Not necessarily, no.
Even the youth?
Yes, even the youth. But with the youth, it's kind of less. It's a less percentage. But you will find that some people do not want to change. We're mainly talking about changing our mindset. That's the main issue. That's why we're focusing on the capacity building. We're not focusing on having internet access or having a good infrastructure or having equipment and software, although these are the main requirements to embed and to apply the artificial intelligence. But I think that the main challenge and the main issue for us, especially in Egypt, is the capacity building. We need to work on the human mindset.
Indeed.
Or else we will end up having machines that are of no use.
Indeed. You know, before proceeding, Dr. Nevine, there was one statement that you mentioned that caught my attention, is when you said that these machines could be talking a language that we're not going to understand, or we're having difficulty in understanding. Now, my question is, isn't it us, the people, the human mind, that made this machine? So, I mean, how can the machines communicate and we don't understand their language? That's the question.
Because when we made these machines, we started by kind of transferring our knowledge and our intelligence and our way of thinking to the machine and to the system. But afterwards, we worked on the machine learning. That's a new term, machine learning and deep learning. By machine learning, we allowed these systems to learn without having to come back to us as humans. without any interaction, without any permission, if I may say, from our side. So they have their accumulative knowledge, and they don't have any problems like, for example, being tired, having personal problems, whatever. So these machines are learning all the time. And information and knowledge is power. So they're becoming more powerful. And that's the main risk.
You just reminded me of a famous American drama series. I just don't remember its name. But that was the main theme, that a machine was created by people, and then this machine started to, to be so smart, or to have, it has the data across the board. So even those who created it for good purposes, some of them wanted to use it for good purposes, others for bad purposes, but they both struggled to control the machine itself, which in turn started to control them, the good people and the bad people. I just don't remember the name, but it was a very famous American drama series.
Actually, that's
police thing.
Okay, that's one of the scenarios.
Yeah.
Okay? Because this might happen. That's a very bad thing to say whenever we're talking about artificial intelligence, but we need to be talking about reality.
Because there is good use for it and there's bad use for it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was meant to be of many good usage in different fields, such as education, for example, trying to help some students who have learning problems, trying to help the special needs. So it was meant to be a very good way to solve problems in the medical field, in the educational field, in the administrative reform, trying to increase the productivity of the employees, trying to have innovative strategies, and so on. That was how we started. But as we've been using these systems, we discovered many challenges and many cons and many disadvantages.
Okay, let's try to keep it simpler back and keep it simpler if we can. Can you give us examples of how we can use AI in our daily lives to make our daily lives easier, the repetitive things you talked about?
Okay, we can start first of all by automation, and automation is not the same as artificial intelligence. So we can automate some of the repetitive tasks in order to be able to focus more on the innovative tasks. If we take the education, for example, we find that we can make these systems help us in, for example, preparing our lectures. Okay, that's kind of a tedious task for us as professors. But on the other hand, we're trying to keep it personal. When dealing with our students, we still prefer the face-to-face. Actually, with coronavirus, we had to make use of the e-learning, which is not AI. We're talking again kind of automation. But on the other hand, we were also able to make use of what we call the intelligent tutoring systems. These systems try to customize the syllabus so as to be able to act as a personal tutor to each and every learner. And that proved to be very beneficial in the educational field. So
and you teach online abroad, right?
Yes, with India.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a professor with Jamia Hamdard University. That's a governmental university in New Delhi. And I teach artificial intelligence, especially in the medical field. That's my specialization.
Well, that's the field that caught my attention the most, really, and I think humanity should care most about. So talk to us about the usage of AI in healthcare and medical analysis and its importance, please, Dr. Nevine.
It can help in what they call the differential diagnosis, trying to get a more, let's say, accurate diagnosis. It's helping the medical doctors. We're not here talking about any kind of replacement or substitution to the medical doctors, but it's a way to support their medical decision making. Also,
so this is an area where we're not going to lose jobs, because we cannot lose doctors and nurses and technicians in that field, yes.
Of course not. But again, let's face reality. With the coronavirus era, we had to rely more on telemedicine. We sometimes had to deal with robots, okay, doc dog bots. We had to make use of some sensors in always and trying to give the medical doctor some data without having him seeing his patient face to face. These were some of the problems that occurred in the coronavirus era. And we had, for example, the IoT, Internet of Things. With the Internet of Things, we're trying to transfer some data to any decision maker, whether we're talking in the medical field or other fields, in order to help him or her take a proper and a suitable decision.
Yes.
So,
other areas, but I want to stay with the medical because I believe this is the field where that can be most beneficial to humanity at large. So there is no more corona, that is over now, but we're still going to use AI in the medical field, I'm sure. So how fast are things developing, especially when it comes to AI in the medical and healthcare field?
Trying to have what we call the personalized medicine. Like, for example, when the patient is already diagnosed, and then we need to work on a treatment, it will be a personalized treatment for this specific person, taking into consideration many data, various data, especially nowadays with the genomics. The genome, the human genome, that's actually the biggest project in Africa. And we're leading it in Egypt. So we're trying to have the genomic data and to take it into consideration whenever we're working on a treatment, a special treatment for a specific person. So that's one of the main usage.
Are doctors, as far as you know, I mean, doctors in Egypt and globally, are they coping fastly with that development? Because, I mean, some doctors would, I'm sure, would try, to keep it the traditional way, and they might be even suspicious of using that data. We give input to the machine, and I assume, and it would suggest to us alternative drugs or something, or medicine. So, I mean, how are doctors, as far as you know, coping with this huge change?
I think, again, after the coronavirus, their attitude has changed. And doctors are already well-educated people.
The most educated,
yes,
probably.
Yes, actually. Yeah. And they're always interested in new research. So I think nowadays they're focusing on the use of artificial intelligence and other recent technologies in their domain.
Okay. Surveillance. And security, that's a key area, I guess, where AI can be used.
Yes.
How are things going here in Egypt?
We're talking about both hardware and software. So you have monitor and you have data analytics. So you can work on the collected data and predict many incidents and crimes. So we have many systems that are trying to fight terrorism.
You are getting me back to that American drama series. I can't remember its name.
No, we're talking security, and that's very important. So artificial intelligence is able to predict the terrorist attacks and is able, again, to provide some guidelines in order to avoid or to fight terrorism.
But it can make mistakes, just like human beings do make mistakes.
Yes, it can. And it does so.
Yeah. I understand that in the morning you were lecturing some assistance to ministers about in the field of industry. So can you talk to us about manufacturing and production? How is AI key in the industry, and try to focus on Egypt here at the moment?
Okay, we were talking about increasing the productivity of the employees in this field. We're also talking about some innovation that can be led by artificial intelligence. And
you earlier said that we should leave innovation to mankind and the repetitive work to the machine.
That was our goal, but that's not what happened. Because we discovered that these robots can be innovative as well.
That's shocking.
Yes, it is shocking because it's risky. As long as these robots are acting in an ethical way, then it's okay, we're safe. But once they have any unethical behavior, then I guess we're not safe. That's why we're focusing on developing ethical artificial intelligence solutions. We're aiming at having solutions and at having robots that can have an ethical behavior, that are not biased, that have some values. And the problem is that till now, we did not discover any way to transfer values to these robots.
There is no way to do that.
Till now. Maybe tomorrow or after tomorrow we'll discover a new way.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Okay, but I'm sure you can't accept that someone would be suspicious about that. I mean, values and ethics, I mean, how can you transfer that?
We're trying at least to feed these systems and these robots with some ethical knowledge and with unbiased data, at least. So when you feed the system with unbiased data, it should give you unbiased results.
This is some sort of revolution, isn't it? I mean, in the Industrial Revolution some 300 years ago or something, jobs were lost and people were against machines and so on. We're having a revolution in this field, aren't we?
Kind of. That's why we need to be smart. That's what I was saying this morning while lecturing. I told them that we cannot deny that we will have to accept the intelligent techniques and we will have to apply the digital transformation in our institutions, or else we'll be left behind. And we have in our country the National Council, we have our artificial intelligence strategy that can be implemented in every institution. But we need first of all to focus on the human being, the mindset. And we need to be smart enough to make use and to benefit from these technologies. Instead of saying that we will not use these technologies. I don't think we have this luxury.
You're right. Other areas of main usage of AI, like self-driving cars, retail, shopping, sports analytics and activities. And I'm sure in sports analytics, for instance, there is no bias. I mean, you cannot be biased when you calculate, for instance, the number of shots or saves or runs or speed or something like that. So I'm sure that in the field of sports as well, this could be of great help.
Yes, but you can be biased.
Okay, and so how is that?
Whenever you feed the system with the data, it should be representative data, or else it will be biased, whether with or against. But again, you just mentioned the analytics, and that's very important. We have what we call the data analytics, and analytics is not analysis.
Okay,
Analytics
so what's the difference?
is deep analysis. So we're trying, for example, first of all, to describe what's going on, and we call this the descriptive analytics. And then we try to diagnose the why, the reasons why this is happening in any sports or in any issue or in any domain. And when we have the reasons why, then we can predict what will happen afterwards. And when we have our prediction, we can be ready, we can be proactive with some prescriptive action. That's why we embed the 4 types of data analytics in every field nowadays.
Can you talk to us about those 4 types? That's different from the 4 types of AI, or is that the...
No, the 4 types of data analytics.
Okay.
Okay, again, let's make it simpler.
Yeah, please.
So, with the artificial intelligence, you have one of 2 aspects. Whether you're trying to transfer knowledge to a machine or a system, so that this system is able to make use of the knowledge and take decision and act like humans, or you're trying to feed the system with large amounts of data. When you feed the system with large amounts of data, we have some, let's say, programs or algorithms, and these programs are able to discover new patterns. So when you discover new patterns and when you can have some predictions, you give these patterns and prediction to the decision taker. And then he's able to act in a proactive manner, because he'll be able to know what will happen in the next decade. This makes
with a certain degree of probability, yes.
We call it a certain degree of uncertainty.
Beautiful.
Because it's prediction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that's the term. We call it a certainty factor because when you speak about prediction, it's never 100% sure.
Of course.
You never know what will happen, even if you take all of the internal and external factors into consideration. You still have a risk, or you still have.
I mean, things could happen in the future that would change the equation. Yeah.
Like again, what happened with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Although there were some predictions, but again, it was kind of a disaster for all of us.
Yeah. Let's now go to the economy, the role of AI in the economy at large, in economic growth and sustainable development. I mean, it's amazing when I looked at the nations who are advanced in AI, it was very easy to predict them, and I believe I got the right prediction. I mean, basically, they're 4 of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council.
Yes.
US, China, the UK, France. I thought Russia would be there, but it was, according to studies, numerous international studies, Russia was not there. But then, I said, so what about the G7? So I saw Germany, I saw Canada, India, of course, and South Korea and Italy. And usually, by the way, these countries are not only the G7 or the permanent members of the Security Council, but even in the Olympic Games, something about sports here.
Yes.
You see the US, you see China, I mean, this is probably from 1 to 10 the countries that finish top 10 in the Olympic Games. It's amazing. Yes. So when you're advanced, I mean, you're advanced. So that was something I just wanted to say as a piece of information here. Okay, here in Egypt, we have the National Council for Artificial Intelligence, which is chaired by the Minister of Communications and Information Information Technology. Can you talk to us about that council and the council's responsibilities?
Actually, it was launched in November 2019. It's working on implementing the artificial intelligence strategy because when implementing AI or digital transformation or any intelligent techniques, it's kind of a long-term plan. It cannot happen in a short term.
Sure.
So we were trying to embed these techniques. We start by having what we call the e-readiness, trying to explore the pushing and hindering factors in any institution. How can the people cope with the new technologies? And then we have the actual or the current status. And we see the problems, and when we have the problems, we kind of suggest the solutions. That's why we're talking about our software is called solutions. It's AI solutions. And these solutions are meant to solve the problems and are meant to improve as well any institution performance. And this will definitely have a very good impact on the economy.
Sure. So AI here in Egypt has a big role in e-commerce, that's what we understand, in cybersecurity, in social responsibility. I'm sorry, I mean, time has passed so fast. I mean, we only have 3 minutes left. Can you talk to us about that, e-commerce, cybersecurity, and social responsibility?
The e-commerce, it started by being electronic commerce. So electronic commerce, again, is kind of automation. But the artificial intelligence embedded in these systems tries to gather data about the customers and then kind of suggest some new products to the customers. Again, it's personalized, like the personalized medicine. So they do what we call profiling. And by profiling, by getting to know more about the customer, the KYC, know your customer, these analytics can provide any company with more insights, not only data or information, with more insights about the customers and about the market, so as to help this company to become more competitive, help this company to perform better in the customer satisfaction and customer behavior, dealing with these points. That's where...
So scientific research, some sort of scientific research.
Kind of.
And it's become, but in a cheaper way, I guess. I mean, and in a shorter time frame.
Yes, in a very short time. And trying again to have, or to help the company in planning for the next years.
Right. Cybersecurity, I'm sure it can go both ways. Or
Cybersecurity is actually one of the challenges. Because whenever we're talking about artificial intelligence, whenever we're talking about having data and information, that's power. So we always mention the security, the information system security, and the cybersecurity as a challenge that need to be tackled, not as an advantage.
In the field of social solidarity, I guess it's important to gather data about those who are in need.
It's the same story. Yes, we're trying to gather data about the citizens, we're trying to gather data about the customers. It's the same methodology that you can apply. That's why we have the AI strategy. It works on gathering data from various sources and then performing what we call the input or the data validation to make sure that these data are correct, they're not noisy, as we call it in our IT jargon, and then performing the 4 types of analytics and helping the decision takers in each field to be more proactive and helping him or her with some alternatives to take the suitable decision.
Final question, how fast are we progressing here in Egypt in AI, and what is it that we need to do to reach where we want in the shortest time frame possible?
I think we're focusing on the youth, and that's very important. So we have many students nowadays studying artificial intelligence. We have the fresh graduates starting 2012. We have many initiatives for them. Again, trying to teach them artificial intelligence, digital transformation, internet technologies, all of the recent technologies, so as to make them ready to develop systems and ready to cope with the systems, because those are the future, actually.
Indeed, a very challenging field, very mind-challenging, and I had the pleasure to talk about this here, dear viewers, with our dear guest, Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, the Professor of Computer Science and Information Systems, and also the Director of the Social and Cultural Planning Center affiliated to the National Institute of Planning here in Egypt. Thank you very much, Dr. Nevine. It's been a great pleasure, and hope to see you again. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nevine. Thank you, dear viewers, for for watching us here on Business Insider. Next week, same time, is a new episode. Until then, have all the best and goodbye. Please stay with Nile TV International.